now you're saying it's the opposition, but you did say it's the office of the president. So which is it?
No. Separate the two issues. One, who was witch hunting Anne Waiguru?
Yeah.
It's the opposition.
Okay.
Then the process, for example, when she was told to protect the anti-corruption, when they raided her office, I was commenting about that. That was not necessary because there was nothing on her in the first place.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm just trying to understand your statement, because you said it's a department of the office of the president. But yes, I think it is well known that the opposition was really pushing for this. So who do you really think was behind the push by the EACC to raid her home and suddenly turn her from what seemed to be the whistleblower to now possibly a suspect? Was it the opposition?
No. Of course, the opposition played a big role. I mean, Anne Waiguru, due to her portfolio, her presence in her office, her influence, was a high-profile minister. And everybody wanted to bring her down. But, when you're bringing someone down, it's good to have a good cause. But when you just, make some stories that money was stolen in NYS, of course it was stolen, but NYS has its own structures.
Yeah.
There's an accounting officer.
Okay. Which the opposition would have no control over. Or do you think they had control over persons at the EACC?
They make a lot of noise. And that noise, the papers speak. I mean, they stand.
So when you talked about them being a department of the office of the president...
That was a general statement within the context of the many criminal cases that were taken to court. I still maintain that the Corruption Commission is inefficient. I mean, it doesn't perform as it should. There are many cases that are taken to court that it should not. And the DPP should have a better oversight of the cases that they recommend to him.
All right. So the opposition, you claim, was, of course, making a lot of noise. I think that is...
Unnecessary noise, I think, in my view.
Why do you think?
I mean, what was the point they were making? That Anne stole money? Which money? They were told to explain so many times. But you see, they make this general statement that money was lost in NYS. 60% of our budget is lost every year. 60%. That is from the chief of staff when he was at the treasury. Why don't you take all these people who lose that money to court or to investigation for every month?
So they should make equal noise about everybody.
Yes, like Kidero now. Why are they quiet about Kidero? Yes. Kidero is in the thick of this scam. I'm not saying he's guilty, but he is in the thick. He's entangled.
Do you have any knowledge of Kidero and and exactly what he did, seeing as you had a meeting with him prior to going over to the other side?
If you look at this affidavit, when I met him was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
This affidavit is current. This affidavit is very detailed. I thought, and I'm glad at least the Key Anti-Corruption Commission said today they are doing some investigation. I hope they do good investigation. But if we fight corruption, let us fight on certain principles and norms that we all are aware of.
Okay. I'd like us to talk about the vetting process for a minute, because some have complained that the vetting board has no powers to investigate. All you do is take a look at this and you go and present your statement of accounts, or this is my wealth, and it's just sort of corroborating everything that the candidates go before them present. And that in so doing, that the fact that it does not have investigative powers, the fact that the JSC does not have investigating powers, even this subcommittee, that then it was not able to say they have a prima facie case.
Let's separate. The vetting board vetted all the judges and magistrates of this country. It did not do a good job in the sense that, if you look at the percentage of success it had, it's very low. But again, you can't blame. You must have people who complain and who bring evidence. And even when they complain, there were a lot of witnesses and files that disappeared. Some people were bought out. And Kenyans being Kenyans, it's difficult to nail these people. The JSC is a separate entity. The JSC has an investigative power. It has. It can investigate. And it does investigate.
Were investigations done in this case? We all know they had. Kidero said he was before the commission for barely 10, probably 15 minutes.
Yes.
And in that time, hearing for about 10 minutes from each of the said persons of interest in this case, then they were able to come up with the idea of a prima facie case?
Yes. First, let's understand. The office of the Ombudsman investigated this matter a long time ago. He compiled a very detailed report. He met Kiblagat. He went to all these places, all these transactions that were done. He compiled a report. The report was ready. When the JSC subcommittee now investigated this matter, it is a prima facie case. They will just look the matter very superficially. And the standard is very low. is there a reasonable case for us to advise the president to appoint a tribunal? It's that tribunal appointed by the president that will do now the proper investigation. A proper criminal trial will be conducted by that, where witnesses will be brought, cross-examined, and finally a decision will be made by that tribunal.
Okay. This matter of, the CJ and who gets to succeed him, you've said right here that 7 judges, you picked the best out of who did. Tunoi was lucky, and you say, well, there were better people who were out there. Have you ever thought of becoming a judge yourself?
No, I have no intention.
Why not?
The first time someone approached me to become to become a judge.
Chief Justice?
No,
Okay.
was when I was chairman of the Law Society.
Uh-huh.
And the Chief Justice, that time, Justice Gishero asked me to become, and I told him I'm not interested. I'm not interested.
Why
Still,
not?
I don't want to become a judge. That's simple. There are better things to do than to become a judge. That's my view.
Yet you sat on the JSC and took a look at judges. Some of the statements you're making make it seem like you have no faith in the judicial system.
No. I have a lot
You
of
have
faith.
better things to do
Yes,
than to
yes,
be a judge.
I have better things to do
Okay.
than to become a judge.
Uh-huh.
Yes, and there are many better things to do than to become a judge.
All right.
Yes, but you see, the problem we have in the judiciary is that the best lawyers or the best legal minds in the country don't want to become judge. Simple. That's it. That's the problem. Yes.
Who would be there if
So-
you could? Just humor us.
Yes, that's the problem.
Yeah,
So,
no,
for example-
humor us.
For example,
Who do you think should be?
for example,
at
when
the
we were
helm?
interviewing the Chief Justice,
Right.
only 12 candidates applied. Only 12.
Uh-huh.
So we interviewed all the 12 of them. When we were appointing the DCJ, I think it's only 10. So the pool of the candidates who apply are even much smaller. This time I'm sure when they advertise, if they get 10 or 6 or 7, look at now even the DCJ, I think only 7 ladies applied. So there's that problem that many people don't want to become either the Chief Justice or...
What's your finding on the legacy of Chief Justice Willie Mutunga? He goes to international press. He talks about this country being run by bandits. He talks about extensive corruption within the judiciary, which he heads. And many people had placed a lot of hope and premium in his tenure at the helm of the Supreme Court and indeed of the judiciary in the country. That doesn't seem to happen. There's a great feeling that he's disappointed Kenyans and has seemingly just, put up his hands in surrender and said, the corruption is there. There's nothing I can do about it. The cartels are too far, entrenched. There's nothing I can do.
No, Willie has done marvelous. He has done very well. He has done exceptionally well.
Why?
If you compare his tenure to the other judges, Willie's term has been transformative. He constituted a Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has done fairly well. It could have done better in certain areas. The judiciary has done very well. Garissa has a high court, Isiolo has a high court, Mesebet has a high court, Lodwa. The frontiers of justice has been expanded to places where nobody thought it will. That's very important in my view.
Okay.
Taking a high court, for example, to the people of Hola, it's a landmark, it's a monumental development.
But yet, corruption continues to be a big issue. And like you said, $2 million is no small amount of money. So perhaps even though we have courts everywhere, there's a lot of people who have no faith in the system
But
now.
let us be fair to the judiciary. It's not, we have 110 judges in the High Court. We have, we are not investigating, for God's sake, 110 judges. Let's not lose, perspective. When there's a problem in the judiciary, there will be investigation. But we are not investigating 50 judges. One judge is being investigated. There's also another judge in the High Court that's been investigated. So, corruption is there, but not on the scale in Parliament or in the executive or other arms of government.
And yet we continue to make that comparison as if it's okay.
Of course,
To make a comparison,
No.
shouldn't we be talking about the judiciary finally starting to make some great strides in stamping out corruption? But now what we start to do is say, well, the judiciary is a little bit better than the legislature or the executive.
Much better.
That's
But
not what Kenyans want to hear.
But we have
Senior
to,
Counsel.
we have to have perspective, We have to say that this country is a very corrupt country. The only institution working is judiciary. But judiciary, there is also corruption. The good thing about that is that when an issue of corruption arises, people are investigated and taken to court or taken through this. Look at Parliament. What happens in Parliament? Parliament, when they brought a report to show that the place is rotten, I mean, Duale and the speaker and the speaker sat, and they almost disbanded the king and the commission, you know. They said, how dare you write this report? The next time, I can assure you, they will write a more flowery report and say that corruption does not exist in parliament.
Okay, so things are a little better in the judiciary, but like you say, I mean, you know, corruption exists. And some say your hands are not so clean when you come into this matter. You had that great big tweet with Boniface Mwangi yesterday talking about the clients you represent, and there's a couple of questions on social media saying you only seem to represent the high profile figures where the cases are, you know, big amounts of money are involved. You've just all but admitted here the fee of 25 million in the meeting you had with Evans Kidero. Would you like to comment on that?
Yes, but I don't act for a single bank in this country. It's a policy I have. I don't act for banks. I don't act for a single parastatal in this country. I don't act. I act for the man who walks into my office. You know what we call the walk-in client. That's the people I act for. But you see, I mean, the point I was making to Boniface is I'm a lawyer. I mean, I don't take money from donors. I don't have to account to anybody. You know, I don't have to say that I act for a poor man who came from Mandera, which I do, but I don't have to pronounce.
How many pro bono cases have you done?
We do many.
How many?
I mean, there's a case, for example, someone I was in school with in Mandera was taken by the anti-terrorism. Nobody heard of him for 2 weeks. One is we told his wife to come. She came. We filed a writ of habeas corpus. When we filed, he was reproduced. And there are so many cases like that we do. But you know, we don't explain to anybody because we have no obligation to explain. Nobody pays us. It's free.
Okay. So you don't necessarily just work for the rich ones?
No, I told you, we work for people who, they're called walk-in clients, people who walk to your office.
But your walk-in clients are certainly much bigger than some of the walk-in clients for other lawyers, to be sure.
People don't know that the legal profession in this country is, we have 10,000 lawyers.
Yeah.
It's doing very well. I mean, there are many people who are prospered, doing very good cases for rich, for poor. And I mean, it's a growing economy. All
right, finally, Ahmed Nasir, how would you rate the judiciary at this moment? Say on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being poor and 10 being really good, with the allegations we're hearing now, and just why people should believe that some and not all of the judges within the Supreme Court, you know, are not tainted by this.
I'll give 5.5.
Okay.
Yes.
And they should not all go home?
The Supreme Court?
Yeah.
No. I mean, why should they go home?
Who should stay and who should go home?
Everybody should stay except Tunoi for the time being. And Tunoi should have gone yesterday.
And not any of the 2 ladies who've been mentioned?
You see the 2
and not the Chief Justice, and not Smokin Manjala, and not Mohammed Ibrahim?
No. You see, the 2 ladies, that should be investigated. The Chief Justice will retire. Why should he go? Just because Duale says he should go? I mean, why? Why should the Chief Justice go? And you know, this idea of politicians saying that politicians should stop interfering in the judiciary. The judiciary, the organ that regulates the judiciary, is the Judicial Service Commission. If there is an issue, the Judicial Service Commission will pick it up. But we don't want the politicians, you know, especially when
But it is a matter of public interest. If a judge is accused of that, surely politicians who have representation and speak for a constituency should have a say, because we all go before the judiciary.
They can comment about that specific issue, but they should not say the Chief Justice should resign. Because when someone like Duale says the Chief Justice should resign, everybody like me, especially me, thinks that it is Uhuru and Ruto who told him to say so. And that's interference with the judiciary, which is unacceptable in my view.
Okay, thank you very much. Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi, Senior Counsel.